How's it going, everybody? I am the Texas Man. I hope you guys are all having a fabulous day. Please give this video a thumbs up if you guys really enjoy it. Subscribe if you guys have not already. Also, doing the biggest favor of all, hit that bell notification button so you guys don't miss out on future videos or streams here on the channel. And in this video, we're going to be reading through the continuation of the Digital Doom Chronicles. This is going to be part 4. And I've got my good friend here with me, Baby Yoda. And he's just going to be listening with me as I read through the book. We're going to be continuing on. Make sure, of course, you guys check out part 1, 2, and 3 before you continue on in this video. This is, of course, part 4, and we will be continuing on with the book. If you guys are reading with me, we will be starting in chapter 7, Dealing with the Devil. I hope you guys all enjoy the video. Also, make sure to head over to Twitch. Follow me at Douglas447. No caps, no spaces. I do some streaming there from time to time, so make sure you guys head over there, follow me so you guys don't miss out on future streams. With that, let's get going. Also wanted to apologize, my neighbor is mowing his yard, so if there's any noise in the background, that would be it. So, let's go. Chapter 7, Dealing with the Devil. The group of 5 humans watched the ship they were on board head towards Heaven Dragon's land. "Let's get some food and rest," said Peter. Peter, Dale, Sue, Knight, and Matthew left the command bridge of the ship, ate steak and ranch dressed salad, and went to bed, before arriving in their destination in 3 hours. Daylight ceased in the blue-colored sky and was covered with a sunset. Twilight set in afterwards, and a loud sound of bombs being dropped on troops, gunfire from rifles killing the enemy, and the groaning of injured warriors approached the crew of the ship. Minutes later, the group of 5 awoke, quickly ate a Pop-Tart, and ran to the command room of the orange-colored ship. Out of a glass window stood the heavily fortified compound, Heaven Dragon's land. "Matthew, enter the core before the defense turrets blast this ship into dust," said Knight. Matthew dashed to the control computer and entered a secret code into the computer. "God is love." Once Matthew entered the secret code, the dozens of defense turrets lowered in position. "This is Secret Agent with Magical Knight reporting in. Please respond," said Matthew, using the ship's comm device. "Welcome, agents. Please dock your ship in the docking bay 7, said a voice on the other side of the line. Knight took control of the landing procedures to safely arrive inside of the compound. "Listen carefully, you 3. Do not touch anything. Do not wander anywhere. And do not say anything unless Knight or I tell you to. This is a war zone, and they really could care less about you returning home," said Matthew. "Thanks for the words of wisdom. However, we will do whatever it takes to go home," said Peter. The group of 5 humans walked out of the other orange-colored ship and froze. Not one person or creature was around to greet them. "You better get in here quick," said a human in the doorway of a building. The unit raced inside of the building and realized they were inside of the radar station. "What's going on?" asked Matthew. Everyone looked at Matthew, stood up out of their chairs, and saluted the human. "At ease," said Matthew. "Welcome home, General," said the men. "Did I miss something?" asked Sue. "Matthew's not just an agent, but he's Heaven Dragon's general of his entire army," replied Knight. "Status update," said Matthew. "We sent an ally named Alpha submarine to secure the nearby bridge to halt enemy reinforcements while being bombarded by an invisible foe that our radar can only see once in a while," said a human. "It's Cloaked Atom Bomber," said Dale. Matthew looked directly at Dale, wanting to know what he knew. "While the 3 of us were with Alpha, we fought an invisible bomber. Luckily, Alpha's radar was strong enough to bypass the cloaking device and force Cloaked Atom Bomber to flee," said Dale. "How does that information help us take out this threat? Because until that bomber is taken out, our army humans will not be able to defeat the devil's army of vampires, mummies, and zombies," said Matthew. "Let me talk to Alpha," requested Peter. "Secure a line to Alpha," ordered Matthew. "Hope you know what you're doing," said Matthew to Peter. "Alpha, this is Peter Arnold. Do you remember our previous voyage together?" said Peter, with headphones around his ears. "You have secured the bridge, correct?" Peter continued. "Correct," replied Alpha. I'm ordering you to destroy the bridge using a nuclear missile," said Peter. "I need a commander's authority to start that mission," said Alpha. "Alpha, this is Matthew, our secret agent. Peter, Dale, and Sue have authority just like me," said Matthew, using his own set of headphones. "Understood, General. Bridge will be destroyed by a nuclear missile," said Alpha. Thanks, Alpha. Over and out, said Peter. Matthew took his headphones off and looked at Peter, which had already removed his headphones from his head. What good is launching a nuclear missile at that bridge going to do with bombers still approaching? Asked Matthew. Watch the radar screen, replied Peter. Everyone looked at the screens to see the bridge had been destroyed, and Bomber was turning around to head towards the destruction zone. Peter put his headphones back on his head and gave Alpha another order. Destroy cloaked Atom Bomber permanently, because he was coming Alpha's way. Minutes later, using the speakers throughout the compound, the message was spread that cloaked Atom Bomber was finally neutralized. Perfect! Now we can finally deal with the devil without being bombed to death, said Sue. The group of 5 humans was on the front line of the compound, and, using binoculars, saw 7 dragons approaching. Remember to give your manners. I mean, Heaven Dragon is God, said Matthew. Who are the other 6 dragons with Heaven Dragon? Asked Dale. Green Eyes, Emerald, Blue Eyes White, Soul, Millennium, and Master are his dragon army, said Matthew. A few minutes later, the 7 dragons arrived in the compound, and Heaven Dragon landed near the group. What happened at the frozen arena that sent you here? Asked Heaven Dragon to Matthew. We were almost killed by Satan's general, so I decided to come home, replied Matthew. Who are your 3 friends standing next to Magical Knight? Asked Heaven Dragon. This is Peter Arnold, Sue Arnold, and Dale Stevenson from the world of Tot, said Matthew. That's right. You're the 3 that came into Revelation using Soul Train, who killed Deathly Fairy in the Kingdom of Death, and who destroyed Laser Sentinel in the jungle, said Heaven Dragon, which was covered in gold body armor. How do you know so much about us? Asked Peter. He's God, said Sue. Heaven Dragon lifted his enormous head to see past the extremely tall buildings of the compound to see an army of creatures carrying machine guns and swords. What is this? Asked Dale. Our reinforcements to finish off Hell Dragon at last, said Heaven Dragon. The 5 humans and 1 dragon approached the reinforcement army and saw some old friends marching with them. Grandpa Panda from Doom City and Panny from the jungle. I see you made it through the Kingdom of Death without my help, okay, said Panda. Yes, but it would have been easier if you warned us about Vampire Lord and Deathly Fairy, replied Dale. Sorry, but I couldn't in that kingdom until I grouped up with some humans. I couldn't be in that kingdom until I grouped up with some troops for Heaven Dragon, said Panda. Panny, I thought you were staying in the jungle, said Peter. I was waiting for Panda to bring his troops from Doom City to combine with mine from the jungle and the frozen arena, said Panny. The group of 5 humans and 1 dragon looked to see that Heaven Dragon's army consisted of the following, each creature carrying a machine gun and sword. Fireball hamsters, magic tigers, grandpa pandas, and humans. Let's end this war, said Peter, looking at Heaven Dragon. General Matthew and Captain Knight order my entire army to prepare to attack. After my previous scout, I think we have the strength to conquer Hell Dragon at last, said Heaven Dragon. Matthew and Knight dashed away from the group and into the radar building to give the order for everyone to gear up for battle. What are the name of Hell Dragon's dragon friends? Asked Peter. Cursed, Rodon, Booster, Red Eye Zombie, Sandust, and Element Dragon, answered Heaven Dragon. We will see you later. We need to prepare our troops to end this conflict for the control of Revelation, said Panda, walking away, with Panny also. I would like you to follow me to your war supplies, said Heaven Dragon to Peter, Dale, and Sue. While Heaven Dragon flew, the humans followed on foot to a grassy part of land, which was being covered by a large machine. What is this device? Asked Sue, after Heaven Dragon landed on the grassy ground. This is Devastator Helicopter, and my treat for you to use in battle, said Heaven Dragon. Thank you so much, said Peter. Do we all get to help kill those evil dragons? Asked Sue. Yes, that is what I want you to do, and I would like you to give my army air support when needed, said Heaven Dragon. The group of humans looked at the Alpha-like machine with its missiles and machine guns. Look, said Dale. Everyone looked to see Panda, Panny, Knight, and Matthew coming towards them. Our army is ready to end this conflict, said Matthew. Then, the time has come to find out who will control Revelation for eternity, said Peter. The sound of engines starting and propellers beginning to spin filled the compound as Devastator helicopter lifted off the grassy ground. Let the final battle begin, said Heaven Dragon, leading his army onto the field of bones for the last time. If we don't make it home after this battle, I want you to know that I love you both as a family, said Peter to Dale and Sue. It was an awesome sight as Peter piloted Devastator helicopter with Dale and Sue controlling the weapon systems. Penny, Knight, Matthew, and Panda stood in front of Heaven Dragon's army and looked at the field of bones to see Hell Dragon, his dragon friends, and his army of vampires, mummies, and zombies. Heaven Dragon flew in front of his army and told them to halt, including Devastator helicopter and his dragon friends. We have the last helicopter, while they have none. Well, with that said, we should have no problem in finally ending the devil. Use your machine gun and sword well, and good luck to us all, said Heaven Dragon. Hooray! Death to the devil! Yelled the army below Heaven Dragon. Heaven Dragon flew towards his dragon friends and remained in flight on the left side of Devastator helicopter. The evil army was closing in to clash with Heaven Dragon's ground forces, and Dale prepared to fire nuclear missiles. Let this be the final battle we have against each other, said Heaven Dragon. You want to die along with your comrades? Then I'll grant your request, said Hell Dragon, flying above his army of evil creatures. Dale lowered the missile containers towards the enemy ground forces and rested his finger on the trigger to begin the battle. Surrender, Hell Dragon, and live in the great prison forever, or prepare to die, said Heaven Dragon. I will never surrender to the likes of you and your allies, said Hell Dragon. Heaven Dragon looked at Dale inside of Devastator helicopter and signaled him to launch the missiles. Dale looked at Peter, who was in front of him, and Sue, who was behind him, to make sure they wanted Dale to press the button. I hope we make it home after this, said Dale, pressing his finger on the red trigger. Hundreds of missiles fired out of their launch tubes, killing thousands of vampires, zombies, and mummies. And because of this, the battle began. The ground forces of each army clashed together, while the dragons and Devastator helicopter fought in the sky. Matthew was an excellent machine gunner, killing hundreds of evil monsters. Knight used his long magic sword and chopped the heads off of zombies. Panda went around digging his sharp claws into the hearts of vampires. Penny leaped on top of his prey and tore mummies' heads off. Magic tigers used their breath to turn enemy forces into statues of gold. Fireball hamsters crawled around and fired fireballs of fire out of their tiny black-colored eyeballs. Heaven Dragon and Hell Dragon clawed with their hands, kicked with their feet, whipped with their tail, and breathed fire with their mouth to determine which one would live and die. Devastator helicopter and Heaven Dragon's army friends engaged Hell Dragon's friends. Alpha used his telescope and saw the battle ensuing, and launched several nuclear missiles at Hell Dragon's compound to have no retreat point. All these events took place within 10 minutes, and within those 10 minutes, the battle was over. Peter landed Devastator helicopter on the ground before the engine exploded because of a fireball impact. Peter, Dale, and Sue dashed out of Devastator helicopter in 2 seconds before its destruction. The group looked around to see that The group looked around to see Heaven Dragon had killed Hell Dragon, while his dragon friends had also killed Devil's dragons. The humans looked at the field of bones to realize Hell Dragon's army of vampires, zombies, and mummies had either been defeated or transported to the great prison in the Kingdom of Death. While walking towards the remaining forces, the humans saw Penny had been stabbed to death by swords. The magical knight was shot in the back of the head, and Soul Dragon tried to kill Hell Dragon, yet was unsuccessful, and also was killed. Crying for the loss of loved ones and of friends filled the empty sound of the field of bones. Several humans, magic tigers, fireball hamsters, and Grandpa Pandas died on the battlefield that would lay full of skeletal remains forever. It was finally completed. Heaven Dragon would rule Revelation in peace at last, and the devil, known as Hell Dragon, had been dealt with permanently. Days later, Peter and his friends would learn that 7,000 of their allies died for the freedom of a world that would never be able to be in peace for thousands of years. A world they would never be able to see in peace after thousands of years of turmoil and war. A world those 7,000 knew as their home, and as they knew as Revelation. Chapter 8. The River Horror. Matthew and Panda found Dale, Peter, and Sue wandering the remains of thousands of soldiers and next to the body of Magical Knight. Matthew was in shock at his friend's death, and Panda was also shocked at the death of Panny. Both creatures wept for the loss of their friends, yet ended their sorrow after Heaven Dragon announced to everyone to return home, since the devil was finally dead. After Heaven Dragon instructed his 5 dragon friends to wait for him at Calvary Castle, he approached the 4 humans and 1 panda. "What are we going to do now?" asked Panda. "We're going to find a way home," replied Peter. "Heaven Dragon, Panda sent us here not just to fight a war for you, but to have you return us back to our world," said Peter. "I don't have the power to return you to your world, yet I know who might," said Heaven Dragon. "Who?" asked Sue. "He is a strange human that lives in a cabin in the Kingdom of Death. His name is Timoneko," replied Heaven Dragon. "Show me where," said Peter. Heaven Dragon fired a fireball out of his mouth, and everyone watched as the fireball turned into a map of Revelation. Peter and the rest of his friends looked at the map, which had corners that were still on fire, and realized Timoneko's cabin was close. Suddenly the map turned into dust and fell to the ground. "We have to see this man," said Dale. "I agree, yet it will take days before we can cross the mountains to be able to cross the ocean to enter the Kingdom of Death," said Peter. "What if we travel to the docking system between the Rich Lands and Land of Bones, made a boat, and had Alpha pick us up at the end of the river?" suggested Panda. "If we did that, we would have to battle the river horror monster, possibly," said Matthew. "The river horror monster!" exclaimed Sue. "There is no monster that roams the river," said Panda. "Yes, there is, and I saw it kill my crew when I was on a mission to attack Hell Dragon's forces from behind," said Matthew. "What did it look like?" asked Peter. "It was not a monster that you want to be face to face with, because it was a teleporting Spinosaurus. It had yellow and green skin, white teeth, and dark black eyes," said Matthew. The group was in the middle of a hard rock. Matthew, Panda, Peter, Dale, Sue were either going to have to hike through the mountains for a week or travel down a river and risk encountering the river horror monster. After 5 minutes of arguing, Peter made the decision that they would be traveling down the river. "I will inform Alpha to travel to the river outlet to the ocean, and I will meet you at Timoneko's cabin," said Heaven Dragon, flying towards Heaven Dragon's land. The group of 4 humans geared up with weapons and food supplies and headed towards the river. It was an easy walk through the remains of Hell Dragon's land and dark and dirty plain. It was an easy walk through the remains of Hell Dragon's land and the dark and dirt plain between Hell Dragon's land and the group's destination. Eventually, after 4 hours of walking, the group arrived at the docking system between Land of Bones and the Rich Lands. What shocked everyone was the docks were empty and all the fishing and trade boats were destroyed. "What happened here?" asked Sue. "The river horror monster must have been through here," said Matthew. "Let's build a strong metal boat with mounted machine guns," said Peter. Peter imagined a boat as he described. The vessel appeared out of nowhere, and the group boarded the boat to travel down the river. "What are we going to do once we return home?" asked Sue to her brother. "We will pretend like this never happened," replied Peter, driving the extremely long boat. On the boat, barrels of gasoline were stacked 7 by 5 for fuel. A machine gun was mounted on each side of the 4 corners, and, in the middle of the vessel, was a cage for protection, so the squad of good creatures could use their weapons against the river monster if needed. 1 hour later. The group was now 10 minutes from leaving the river system and entering the ocean of revelation. I guess there's no river horror monster after all, said Panda, still picking a fight with Matthew. Roar! Screamed a loud sound coming from Land of Bones. Everyone inside of the cage, ordered Peter. The team dashed into the steel structure, and seconds later it began to rain, without any warning. Matthew flicked on the lights using a switch on the outside of the cage, entered the cage, and closed the door. I put the boat on auto drive so we can keep moving towards Alpha's position, and the machine guns are on auto fire if anything approaches us, said Matthew. Peter, Dale, Matthew, and Sue sat in a separate corner with a machine gun in their hands, while Panda stood in the middle of the cage with a sword. The rainstorm increased in strength as heavier amounts of rain and small hail balls began crashing down on the unit. Lightning began striking the shores of the Richlands, and thunder roared throughout the area. We should arrive at Alpha's position in less than 8 minutes, said Peter. Suddenly, the two front machine guns began blasting bullets out of their chambers, and 2 seconds later, the gunfire ceased. The two machine guns started firing and stopped shooting as quick as the front guns. I think there is a river horror monster, said Peter, diffusing the fight between Matthew and Panda. I bet it is teleporting to test the perimeter, said Dale. Out of nowhere appeared gigantic claws on the side of the cage, each of the 6 claws the size of 2 trash trucks. Panda felt a drip on his fur and looked on his chest to see blood. Panda slowly tilted his head up towards the dark sky to see the most horrifying creature known to him. Guys, look up, said Panda. The entire group looked up to see a creature with black eyes, green and yellow skin, and dirty white teeth, which were full of blood. The river horror monster. Ah! Exclaimed Sue, seeing the monster. The humans opened fire on teleporting Spinosaur, or Spino, yet the monster had teleported to safety. Hold your fire, ordered Peter. The humans reloaded their weapons while Panda watched Spino prepare to ram the boat head-on to sink it. Everyone, hold on! Yelled Panda. Spino rammed the boat head-on in the front of the vessel, causing heavy amounts of damage. The cage door opened, and Matthew and Panda flew into the river. The cage door closed and locked itself from the outside. Swim to land, yelled Sue. Roar, said Spino, coming out of the water. Spino looked towards the two things running into the forest and started after them. I hope they make it out of here okay, said Dale. Peter, the boat is sinking fast, said Sue, looking at the holes near their feet. Peter placed the key in the lock and turned the key, yet it would not open. Dale used his machine gun, blasted bullets at the lock, and kicked the cage door down. The group of 3 humans left behind the boat, swam to shore, watched the boat blow up because of the oil cans, sink, and started walking to Alpha's location with food and weapons. While Peter, Dale, and Sue headed to the submarine, Matthew and Panda hid in a cave from Spino. It was a great idea to remain in one place, yet Spino found them and forced the 2 travelers to run for their lives again. Minutes later, Matthew and Panda lost Spino in a field of thick trees and tall grass. Panda, listen! While I run east towards the mountain, I want you to run towards Alpha's location, where he is waiting for us, said Matthew. Why are you not coming with me? Asked Panda. Spino is too close for us both to make it to Alpha's location, replied Matthew. Inform Heaven Dragon it was an honor serving under him, and tell Peter, Dale, and Sue that I hope they can return home, said Matthew. Unfortunately, Panda would forget, and the messages would never be delivered. Matthew and Panda ran their separate ways, knowing what lay ahead for each of them. 4 minutes later, Panda had reached the shore and could see Alpha in the ocean. Ah! Yelled a male voice. Panda cried heavily, for it was the sound of Matthew sacrificing himself to be eaten by Spino. After a few seconds passed, Panda was reunited with Peter, Dale, and Sue. What was that scream we heard? Was that scream we heard Matthew's last cry? Asked Peter. Yes. He sacrificed himself as a target so I could get here before Alpha left, said Panda. Minutes later, the group of 4 was on board Alpha and headed for Tim and Echo's cabin. During the voyage, Spino tried to eat Alpha, yet torpedoes took care of the river horror monster permanently. Panda was not informed of Whitestone of Legend and was frozen solid. Luckily, Peter, Dale, and Sue were able to use their powers and unfroze the cute creature. There had been much that had taken place in the travelers' lives in the week they had been in Revelation. Yet their adventure was far from over with just the encounter of the river horror monster. And that's going to do it for me, guys. This is going to end part 4. Look forward to part 5 coming out very soon. You guys have a good one.